how would you define being a champion? Who is a champion to you?
I guess being a champion is kind of a mindset, I would say. Like, it's about focusing on the process. It's easy to define a champion as like when you win a tournament, then you are a champion, and I guess you are. But a champion is what you do to get there, like the process and focusing on that. Never giving up, treating other people well, being a good person. It's about more than just winning.
Hello, I'm Veronica Karaman, and welcome to my podcast, Be a Champion, Faith-Driven Performance. This is the place to tee it up if you want to learn how faith, competition, and performance all intersects with one another, because those areas are meant to be integrated in your life. It's also the place to up-level your game and your life. I'll be sharing some wonderful transformational teachings, have some great guests who'll be sharing their journeys, and we are all on the road to championship. So my whole goal is to help you express the fullest potential of who you are as a champion. I believe as a champion in everyone. I believe as a champion in you. Enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Veronica Karaman, and welcome to my podcast, Be a Champion. And I'm so delighted today to have my very first guest, who is a rising star and a champion. Her name is Riley Grimm, and she's from Pinehurst, and I'm so excited because she is a true champion. And we look forward today to learning her story and some inspirational insights about what it means to be a champion and how to reach your full potential. So Riley, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I have to tell you, I was so excited because that day you were playing in the LPGA Girls Golf National Championship here in Southern Pines. It was the final day. I came out to follow you, and of course you ended up winning it, but I was so impressed because you actually won it making a comeback. Tell us like what that was like, coming down to the final holes and having to pull it out.
Yeah, so that day was kind of a roller coaster. We started out, and Maya and I were we matched our scores in the first 6 holes, so we were playing really solid, both of us, and she was playing great all day, but going into the back 9, I was a little bit in deficit. So I knew with golf being the game that it is, anything can really happen on that back 9, so I just did everything I could to keep myself in it, never giving up, and I'm glad I was able to pull it off at the end.
Now you were like 2 strokes behind, I think it was like on 14?
On 15.
On 15. Yeah. And when you say you wanted to keep yourself in it, I always say 15's like the chokehold. Like either you choke or you go in for the win, right? Mm-hmm. How did you keep yourself in it? What did you tell yourself?
I don't know. I just did my best to keep my mind in it. On that hole, I just kept trying to play my game. Like,
Gotcha.
I can't control what Maya does. If she finishes really strong and wins the tournament, that's because she played well. So I just did my best to do what I could do. I put that hole really solid. I had like 80 yards into the green and hit my wedge to about 5 feet. So that was really helpful.
That makes it easier.
Yeah, that makes it a little
it?
easier.
Yeah.
Getting that birdie gave me some momentum going into the last few holes, and yeah.
Did you say to yourself at all, I'm going to win this? Or did you just say, stick to my processes and keep to my own, like one shot at a time?
I would say it's more like the one shot at a time. My coach, Mr. Robert Linville, always says to win one shot, and that's pretty much all you can do. Like, take it one shot at a time, focus on what I can control, because I can't control what she does or what the outcome is, ultimately just my process.
That's a really great lesson on mental toughness, because I know in coaching a lot of players, particularly those who are just kind of starting on their journey, they get ahead to the score. They get ahead to the outcome. And what I noticed in you was your mindset like never shifted. And you might have been a little nervous on the inside.
I definitely was. So much more nervous than you can see, yeah.
But you are a very good actor.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, it was so amazing because I watch players all the time, and I noticed in Maya that she rushed her she rushed her pre-shot routine, so I could tell she was. You didn't show anything. Like that was very impressive.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. So going back to Robert Linville, who was also my swing coach, and I know that he has been your swing coach. How has he helped you with your game and your progress? Because you obviously have a great swing, but what kind of things do you work on?
Well, obviously, he's helped me a lot technically with my swing. When I started seeing him, I came pretty far to the inside in my downswing, so he's helped me a lot that way. But also on the mental side of it, I guess with like that win one shot and focusing on the process. And he's always believed in me, and he's helped me a lot in pretty much every aspect of my game.
How long have you been seeing him?
Since I was about 12, Mom, so like 3 years ago.
3 years.
Yeah.
Because I know Jack Nicklaus, like he had his teacher, Jack Grout, since he was like 14 years old. And I remember seeing him on the driving range one day, and Jack was there, and I'm like, isn't this amazing to have the same swing coach for your whole life, you know? So I'm assuming that having that kind of relationship
For sure.
makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a great coach.
Yeah. So let's go back to your beginnings. How did you get in the game?
So when I was really young, like 2 years old, my dad was always out on the golf course. He was always playing with his friends. So I would just kind of go out with him and hang out. Sometimes I would hit a few shots. Actually, funny story. When I was starting out, I would hit like old range balls or something into the water so I could see the splash because I thought that was so fun. And so him and his friends would all clap for me when I hit in the water, right?
Oh, that's hysterical.
And then eventually I started clapping for like his friends when they hit in the water, and they weren't super pleased with that. So we kind of had to stop. But yeah, I just kind of got into it from there.
So you were motivated by the splash.
Pretty much.
So
It's not great now. I don't appreciate the splash.
Now you know you like the splash of
Not my
winning.
favorite. Yeah, exactly.
When did you get your first win?
Probably a U.S. Kids local tour event when I was like 7. Yeah, I actually won one of my first tournaments in a playoff when I was 7. So that was fun.
How important is it to you to like have a rival? Because there's not a whole lot of like match play nowadays. But growing up, I always had a rival that, like, if I lost it to this girl by one shot, and I would get really mad. Or like, what is your driving force like in terms of winning? Are you just really competitive, or what really pushes you?
That's an interesting question. I wouldn't say I have a rival per se. Playing in all the
Now your sister plays though, right?
She does.
Do you compete with her?
We'll do like putting contests or little 9-hole matches, but I wouldn't say it's a rivalry. Like, we support each other, but we're also pretty competitive.
Yeah.
She really wants to beat me, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I've also gotten the opportunity to caddy for her a few times, which has been really neat to see things from that perspective. So I think it's really cool that we support each other and kind of go through this golf journey together.
That's beautiful. And how are your parents involved in your journey? How does that work as a family unit?
Well, they're just super supportive. Like, they're so encouraging, and obviously it's a lot to travel around and play all these tournaments, so I'm super grateful for the opportunities I have because of them. So yeah, they've just been so crucial.
Now, I understand in the last 5 rounds, if I got this straight, you scored 16 under par.
Yeah.
That is just like amazing. Like, when you see things and stats like that, how does that motivate you? How do you measure that? Like, when you look at something like that, what do you say to yourself?
Well, it's really neat to see all the hard work that I've done coming through in that. It's just kind of a marker that we're going in the right direction. So I'm glad these last 2 tournaments went how they did. Golf is crazy. Sometimes you'll just have a great week like that, and so that's super neat. I actually keep stats on an app called Clips, so that helps me kind of quantifiably measure my progress, and yeah, it's really nice.
And do you set goals based on those results?
Yeah, so looking at my results on my stats, I can kind of see what areas I need to focus on to improve, like my weaknesses. So I think that really helps me focus my practice.
Gotcha. So if you were to go out and practice today, and I understand you're heading to A big tournament?
Yes.
Where are you headed to?
I'm going to Atlanta for an AJGA.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm going to the Junior PGA Championship after that.
You qualified for
yes.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So how will you prepare for that, and going into that big championship, what are your weaknesses, and how do you plan on strengthening those?
Well, it depends, because I know in Indiana there's a lot of differences in like how the course is laid out. So adjusting to that is going to be a challenge for sure. So focusing on short game and stuff. Just, I guess, kind of shifting from working on the last couple of days. I just tried to make sure my swing's still in good order, but I need to make sure I can do it on the course. So I went to play number 3 yesterday, but kind of shifting back into play mode and getting ready for these next 2 tournaments is really important.
Yeah, that's great. I also understand you, in terms of mentioning Pinehurst, got to walk down the fairway with Rory McIlroy last year at the US Open. What was that like, and what did you learn?
That was so much fun. The energy there was just insane. He was playing really well for a really long time. So every time he made one of those putts, you could just feel it, like the crowd's energy and everything. And the same thing with the putts he kind of let slip away at the end. You can really see all the highs and lows of golf, especially at the US Open. So yeah, that was really neat to get that perspective.
One of the things I noticed coming into the finish and watching both Rory and Bryson, it seemed like Rory was playing not to lose, and Bryson was playing all out to win.
Yeah, it's really easy to get into that mindset. Like, if you know you're playing well, it's easy to get defensive and feel like you need to just play super conservative and try to make pars. But usually when you try to hold on to a lead, that's when it slips away. So that's where I think focusing on the process versus the outcome is super important, because it just keeps you grounded and in the moment, so you can do your best going forward.
Do you ever find yourself fighting, like when you say you're catching yourself going on defense, or I call it protecting the score? How do you shift that around, or do you feel like you've pretty much gotten it down that I'm going to stay on offense and stay in the moment?
I feel like that's something I've learned a lot about through experience, like playing all these tournaments I have over the years. So it's kind of something you need to work on just by putting yourself in those positions.
I think that's a really good point, because the more you learn to win, you win, right? And so many players, like, it's not even in their head to win, and then they get in a position, and then I have to tell them, you can win.
Yeah,
you know?
you actually can do this.
You can actually do this, have a winning mindset, and then once they do, it's like, I kind of belong here. Do you kind of feel that?
Yeah, so if you put yourself in those positions, then you belong there. So I guess you just need to trust yourself to pull it off when you need to, and it's not always going to work out, but if you keep putting yourself in those positions, it's going to at some point.
So the name of my practice and what I do is called, True Champion Coaching, and I have an online program called True Champion Academy. And I believe one of the missing elements in peak performance is that whole role of identity. And it's interesting because I don't know if you watched Scotty Scheffler's interview recently, where he was like, golf is not my identity, it's like what I do. So there's like this line between being all in and seeing yourself as a champion, and at the same time having it not be your end all. How do you make a distinction in those two ways in terms of where you get your worth and identity from?
Yeah, it can be really hard sometimes. It's really easy to attach what you're worth to your score, but also, looking at the big picture, there's a lot more to it than that. Like, you're more than just your score, obviously. It's about the person you are, how you treat people. There are definitely more important things.
What would you define, how would you define being a champion? Who is a champion to you?
I guess being a champion is kind of a mindset, I would say. Like, it's about focusing on the process. It's easy to define a champion as like when you win a tournament, then you are a champion, and I guess you are. But a champion is what you do to get there, like the process, and focusing on that. Never giving up, treating other people well, being a good person. It's about more than just winning.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between being a winner and being a champion.
Yeah.
And in watching, like competitive junior golfers, what's interesting about that stage of development, it's very much a process of formation. So you can see, I always like to look at the main dominoes. And I saw that the number one champion mindset, I'm going to ask you this question. If you were just to pick one champion mindset that says this defines a champion, what would you say?
Would you say describe the mindset?
Yeah. What would the mindset be?
I don't know.
It's okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot. You know what it is? Champions never quit.
Yeah, that is true.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I realize that the moment you quit, which to me is your spirit gives up, right?
Right.
Then you lose your focus.
This is true.
And then when you lose your focus, you lose your routines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it all spirals down from there. So even if you're a young kid just learning to compete, like to be able to say, to fight for every shot.
Yeah.
Like every shot makes a difference. And then the other thing is, which I saw you do really well of staying there, is that champions can turn a disempowering emotion into an empowering emotion at will. So anything you see as a threat evokes a negative emotion.
Right.
Anything you see as a challenge evokes a positive emotion. So to be able, like say after a bad shot or after a bad hole, to quickly turn it around and get back in the challenge, that's a champion is able to do that.
I feel like that was a big thing with how nervous I was going into those last few holes. Realizing that pressure is a privilege and just kind of overcoming that, using the nervousness rather than letting it tear you down is something I noticed.
Pressure is a privilege.
I know that's been said so many times.
That was like, did you hear that somewhere? Or did you
I've heard that everywhere, but
really?
I guess you just kind of realize it.
I think Billie Jean King said it.
Who said that?
Billie Jean
Everybody
King.
said that.
It's on the wall at the US Open.
Right.
But that's what I saw. And I say a champion like enjoys the pressure. Like the more pressure there is, the more calm you become.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't affect you negatively. It affects you in a positive way, and I always used to think too that calm produces focus, but then I also realized focus produces calm.
Yeah.
So those two go together. So I also understand that a couple years ago you attended a Toby Mac FCA camp here in town. What was that like? And tell me how your faith comes into your sport.
Yeah. So the Toby Mac Golf Camp was such a great experience. It was so much fun. I met so many new people there. But also it helped me to kind of put things in perspective and realize how much more than just golf life is. So yeah, that was really neat for me.
Do you, as a person of faith, do you pray over anything in your sport, or are those two things
really
kind of separate?
On the golf course, but I guess it kind of weaves into everything.
Yeah, great. So what are your goals for the future?
I would say the next big goal would be college golf, and then after that, I guess hopefully LPGA.
LPGA, you can say
that's
it.
The goal. That's the
Girl,
goal.
you're on your way.
Yeah, we'll just see how all that plays out. But I guess that's the goal right now.
Where do you want to go to school? Have you thought about it?
I've thought about it, and obviously with recruiting coming up next year, it's getting real. But I don't have an exact school in mind. I'm kind of trying to keep my options open.
You want to stay in the area, or are you?
Probably on the East Coast. I don't know. Yeah.
Wow. So if an aspiring competitive junior golfer was watching this and they haven't won yet, what kind of golden nugget, what kind of advice would you give them on their road to championship? You can look into the cameras.
I guess just keep going. Keep doing what you do. If you love the game, you will get there. If you focus on the process and you have the right mindset, keep working, you'll get there.
Great. Well, Miss Riley Grimm, thank you so much for
you.
being on my very first interview on my podcast. And I also know you're on social media.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to follow you, where do they go?
You can go to my Instagram, which is called Grimm Girls Golf.
Great. And if this was helpful to you, please share and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Be a Champion. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today on my show, Be a Champion, Faith-Driven Performance. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something, were inspired. If so, please share, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear from you. And just remember, we're all on the road to championship. And I believe he's a champion in everyone. I believe he's a champion in you. So I look forward to seeing you next time.